Oh, I know. So we're gonna start recording them all, and they'll all be available on YouTube that I can send out links just in case. But it is good to see everybody. It's good to be back. I've missed y'all.
Missed you
Yeah.
too.
Missed y'all.
Shit, too.
So
We just do this too a little
before
bit.
we get started,
Okay, I'm
we're
sorry.
gonna just have a little check-in with
I'm
everybody.
gonna wipe it
How
out.
you feeling? How you feeling in this election cycle? I know Rosemary couldn't be here because she says, "Oh, I've got doctor's appointments," and we understand. We understand doctor's appointments. So, how's everybody feeling? And if you don't like, just start. I will call. Like, what was that? What was that? That game show, Secret Squares or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh,
But
yeah.
anyway, yeah. So,
Because it's
how
off.
are
You
you
got your video.
feeling? How are
Well,
you feeling? What's going on?
You want to what you have to
Sandra?
share?
I think after watching the Democratic convention, I am more than rejuvenated and just know that Kamala's going to win. She got
Oh yeah.
this.
Oh yeah.
She has got this. And I can't. And then sometimes I have to stop and say, we are going to have the first female Black president. And it's like overwhelming. But I've been going so much this summer that I'm ready when I get back. I'm leaving tomorrow. Like I said, I'm at St. Helena Island, South Carolina. I came down for a funeral. In fact, my godmother's place is on a golf course. So
They
I'm
can
sitting
hear
here
Oh,
you.
looking at this golf course. But I want to get back and do something. I want to volunteer. I don't think I want to knock on doors because, I got to be sane.
right.
These people are crazy. But I can call, I can do something. So I'm ready to start, doing something besides just contributing, dollars.
Right.
So yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
good.
so I'm ready. Yes, and
Good.
I'm looking
You
forward to
speak there,
Oh,
see.
the debate.
All
I
right.
really am. Oh my
oh,
goodness.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for that debate too. I know
Yeah,
it's going to be wonderful.
it
And
is.
and I know we talked about, we know she's going to win.
Oh,
But
wipe it
also
so I can
right
see up here.
Well, I don't know what the
and right after that, I've been watching tennis and the
Oh yes.
US Open. And I think, and I really, really pray that we're going to have an American in the
Right.
finals.
Yes.
It looks like we're gonna get the man, and I'm hoping we're gonna get a woman too, but I'm not so sure about that because I'll what's the name? Uh, Coco
right.
is out, so
Yes.
I was really depending on her to be one of the females.
Yeah.
But hey, anyway, I went from politics to tennis.
There you
And
go.
tennis is not over yet. Tennis, it won't be over until the end of the week.
Yes.
Loretta, how about you, Miss RV and woman?
Yes, Lord. So I, I'm president, the first Black president ever in the 20, however many years this place been around, first Black president of chapter they've ever had. So doing my best up here in York, Pennsylvania. So yeah, I'll just not repeat what Chandra said. I feel the same way politically. I haven't caught up with the tennis, but I will check it out. But feeling pretty good. Got a lot on my plate, of course, still traveling like crazy. But enjoyed Denmark over the summer, learning about how they, or Amsterdam, uh, how they handle people with dementia. So that was a great program to go to.
Oh.
And then toured through France and ended in Zurich. So it was a great summer, really looking at how things work outside the US in terms of healthcare and senior care. So that was fun. So I'll be doing that too. But I had to take a break from this convention today, even though I'm partially in charge. I'm like, yeah, cut off my phone, lock my door in my RV so nobody have a sign on my door that says in a meeting. Do not mess with me. So.
What convention are you at, Loretta?
Say again?
I said, what convention are you attending?
So it's called the RVing Women. So it's women from
Okay.
all over the country who are, travel around in their RV. Some of them are couples, and there are quite a few widows like me. And then there are some single young people who are out here. So I think there are 200 and some women here in these mega size RVs.
Oh
And we're just
goodness.
learning about how to fix our RV, how to
Uh-huh.
cook, what happens if you have a health scare. I mean, there's like 70 classes and all kinds of activities. We did a glow ride with bicycles and scooters and wheelchairs going around and there were prizes for the best decorated scooter and bike, and it's crazy. But these are the most amazing women I've probably ever met. So anyway,
Well,
yeah.
Well, if you ever need any company on one of those trips, let me know.
They would love to have.
Trip.
They would love to have. So, and there are now 6 other in our chapter, 6 other people of color that joined after me. So I've been recruiting too. So
I know I wouldn't be driving one, but I could be a passenger.
mine is only 24 feet, so that's not that big.
Okay, that's all
Bigger
right.
than a car.
There you go.
Yes, it
There
is.
you go.
I will.
Okay. Jennifer, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just taking everything as that was said before, and waiting for that for the 5th when we get that announcement that she's our next president.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay. Ruth, how are you doing? Unmute, Ruth. Unmute.
Oh, bless her heart.
Still need to unmute. Well, while she's unmuting, Claudia, how are you doing?
There.
Okay, go ahead, Ruth.
Well, I'm not having adventures like everybody else at the moment. I just had knee replacement surgery.
Oh, God bless you.
So I've been to the doctor. Well, I didn't see the doctor this morning. I saw the person that took the thing off of my knee so that I can, anyway, I'm doing fine. It's just I'm kind of stuck at home for a while. So I'm glad to be able to see you all, because I'm glad that everybody's, that I can communicate with people without having to leave the house.
Well,
Yeah.
Ruth, are you taking exercises?
Oh yeah, I have physical therapy. I have all kinds of stuff.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I've been there where you are twice. So you got to do the exercises.
Oh, I know. I've had both hips long time ago, so I know what I have to do, and it's tedious, but you have to do it. So.
And you got to do it. Yes.
Yep.
My honored
So
woman.
anyway, on the election, of course, like everybody, I'm following it as, kind of a lot of intense MSNBC watching and whatnot. But I'm still nervous. I've seen things go wrong too many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I hope y'all are right.
If we do what we're supposed to do, she'll be in. Because if we
Yeah.
don't,
True.
we need to find another country to go to.
There you go, for sure.
Because it's going to be hell here.
Oh,
Yes,
it won't be
will.
worth.
True.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for sure.
So, Claudia, how about you? Claudia?
Is it working for her? She was having some difficulties.
Say something, Claudia. Okay, we can't hear you, although you're not muted. Don't know what's going on.
What about Mr. Hill?
Oh, where's Mr. Oh, there, I see his elbow. Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Claudia, we'll come back to you. Mr. Hill's shoulder.
There he is.
There he is.
Well, we've had sort of a slow summer. We haven't been able to go to too many places, just close around the house and help out at the church when the church needed help.
Which is
Yeah.
all the time.
But we're doing
Right.
all right. We're doing all right.
Good, good.
Good.
Well, for aged people.
Of course, a car came down the street with a drunk man and drunk woman in there and ran into my car and
Oh,
totaled it. And I'm
Oh.
really upset about that.
yeah.
Of
We're
course
trying to
you
get that straight now.
Yeah. At least you weren't in it, which was a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yes.
Miss Yvonne at the store, I guess, store on the bus. Where are you? If you can talk, you can
Oh, there you are.
talk. Unmute. Okay, you don't have to unmute. If you can't unmute, we will know that you are listening. So you're just gonna listen. Okay, just gonna listen. Okay. Claudia, we'll come back to you. Let's see if we can hear you. Nope, can't hear you. Must be your speakers on your computer. Don't hit it. It don't work.
Beat it up.
I love it.
Beat it into
Your computer
submission.
does not make it work, Claudia. There's something you must click, but we'll let you figure that out while we continue.
Oh,
Don't
God,
hit
love
it.
it.
You'll just mess it up. You'll just mess it up.
Oh, God, love it.
Before we get into Maccabees, I sent you all the Jeremiah Wright video, which was a Good Friday
Yeah.
video about the silence of the church. And what he shows is that we are free, we are truly free to interpret scripture from our location, from our context. Because as he said, you know, in his sermon, here you had all the church people just standing around silent as an innocent man was killed. And then we've been taught that it was all for us without being told, you know, maybe we need to step back and think about this. How do we go, hallelujah, when someone who was innocent was killed? We go, oh, hallelujah, he was killed for our sins, as opposed to like, no, something was wrong with that. And that you had the church that was involved in all of it, and whether or not the church is willing to use its voice. I mean, as we look at this election cycle, of course, the church can't tell you who to vote for, but the church can tell you to vote.
Yes.
And then you say, these are the values we are looking for. And so you need to vote for the person whose values align with these things that we want for the country. But too often the church is silent. And then you have that other side of the church that's mostly loud and wrong that people listen to because that's the only voice they hear.
That's a shame.
That's the only voice they hear, as opposed to the churches who are, you know, who know what needs to be done. Oh, but we can't do that. We can't be partisan. No, we can't be partisan, but we can be political. Jesus was political. That's what got him killed. You know? And so where is the church? And how do we get the church to step up and say, look, what kind of country do you want? And if you want a country where all of your rights are destroyed, then vote for that side that will destroy them. But if you want a country where your freedoms and your liberties are enhanced, then you need to vote for that side that says we're going to be better than we've been before. We don't have to name names and we don't have to name sides. We can always list what's important. You know, which side comes closer to Jesus? That's all you got to say. Which side comes closer to Jesus? You know,
that's so true.
That's good.
And so, you know, again, it goes back to what is the church willing to risk to be on the side of Jesus? Because as Wright said, you had church people who just stood there watching Jesus be killed.
That's true.
Just stood there, you know. So anything on the Wright video that you want to discuss briefly before we get into Maccabees?
Had you sent that video before, Gail?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I saw it the first time, which was a long time ago. Yeah.
Right. But I sent it out when I first
You
announced
sent it again in the
it.
second. Yeah. Yeah, he's a dynamic speaker and he tells the truth.
He tells the truth. Unfortunately, he's very ill.
Yeah.
He's very ill now. He's just about lost his voice and has lost his vision, but he still tries to preach. He still tries to preach. And what's interesting, you know, he is rector, he is pastor emeritus of Trinity UCC, United Church of Christ in Chicago. And he tells the story of how he got there. He was like the third pastor there. And when the United Church of Christ, which is a combination of 4 denominations, joined to become UCC, they decided that they wanted a Black church in Southside Chicago. But what they wanted was they they wanted a white church in blackface.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what they wanted. They did not want to attract the people actually in the community because they're surrounded by projects. They did not want to attract them. They indicated that they wanted Blacks who knew how to properly worship.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Oh,
They would not even put on the sign United Church of Christ because they thought that Black people would mistake that for Church of God in Christ and think it was their church. But when he got there, the congregation had gone from 400 down to like 70.
Wow.
And those 70 had decided that they needed to change, that they actually wanted to become a Black church in that community. And so when he went for an interview, they said, you know, we've decided we need to change. We need to figure out who we are.
Right.
As Black people and stop being a white church in blackface. And so he took it up to where they have thousands. And now Otis Moss the third is now the rector. And so the pastors. And so everything, they have a new building, they built a new building, and which tells a story of Africans in Christianity. All of their stained glass windows tells a story of Africans and Kemet, Egypt. And so when the kids come in, they see that story. Everybody looks like them. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And so when he was there, he began all of those programs for the projects, after school programs. They said, we're not going to do ministry to, we're going to do ministry with. So we're going to be with people, right? And so they kind of compete with Alfred Street Baptist Church in Alexandria. 3 weeks ago, Alfred Street gave $1 million to the Lock Carey Foundation, which, you know, is a 501c3 that helps people. This is not the first time they've given them. I mean, they will write a check for $1 million in a second.
Oh, they got money.
They got money because people give because they see what the church is actually doing.
Exactly.
You know, Alfred Street, recognizing that people bring trauma to church and then are sometimes traumatized by the church, have therapists on staff in addition to the ministerial staff.
Wow.
You ain't got to pay. You don't have to pay. You got a problem, they say, nope, that's not within my bailiwick. Well, here's our list of therapists that you can go see. They will help you.
Wow.
So they're doing things that actually make church relevant to people. Okay. And that kind of leads us into Maccabees. There are 4 chapters, 4 books. There's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Maccabees. And Maccabees 1st and 2nd really deal with the Maccabean revolt. Maccabees 3 and 4, they're not really connected, but they kind of stuck it on. But we're going to read all 4. And as we look at 1st Maccabees, we don't know who wrote it, but it was probably a Jewish person living in Palestine.
Oh dear.
Yep, exactly.
Palestine, in the Palestinian region. And although the Maccabean revolt occurred between 168 and 164 before the Common Era, This was written probably between 104 and 63 before the Common Era. So of course, it was written after all of this had occurred. And so you're going to get some different interpretations of what happened. Because number one, we don't know who wrote it. We just assume that it was most likely a Jew living in the Palestinian region. It was written in Hebrew. Why? Because this was about Jews, but it was transmitted primarily in Greek, and that's part of the problem as you read First Maccabees, the Hellenization of the Jews, how to get the Jews to stop being Jews and be more like the Greeks, which is what folks tend to do when they take over. We won't let you be who you are. You've got to become like us, okay? In terms of canon, the Maccabees are part of the Catholic canon. It's actually in their Bible. Eastern Orthodox is canon, the Oriental Orthodox, and the Assyrian Church of the East. Of course, the good old Protestants, we put it in the Apocrypha. But for those other denominations, no, it is in their Bible. They say, we're going to read this. We are going to read this. And so as we look at First Maccabees, this is historical. It is historical, where other books of the Bible can be narrative or a combination of history. This is historical. It is not chronological, but this is about the history of when the Jewish people, the Maccabees, revolted against their colonizers. Okay. And so you have where Antiochus the Fourth took over, and he attempted to suppress the Jewish religion. He went in and just desecrated the Jewish temple. And everything that the Jews did in the temple was stopped. Like, you're going to be like us. And when you read this, it sounds a little bit like which book of the Bible that we've read before. You have a king that takes over, you will stop your religion, you'll become like us.
I knew you were going to ask that.
And if you don't, you may lose your life. You may find yourself in the fiery furnace. You may.
Oh, right. Daniel.
Daniel.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Well, what was the name of that king, though?
Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar. Babylon. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Get the cobwebs out.
Get the cobwebs out. Get the cobwebs out. Okay.
Oh, it's so simple. Babylon. Yeah.
Yeah. And so as you read, most of the Jewish population in Palestine.
Yeah.
Why is it called Palestine? Why is this calling the area Palestine? Come on. You all know the answer.
For the Palestinians.
Get rid of what you've been taught. Get rid of what you've been taught and think geographically. Okay, so in this area, in this region of the world, we've been taught that there were two kingdoms. What were the two kingdoms? You had the northern kingdom and you had the southern kingdom.
Yeah.
What were the two kingdoms under David, under Solomon? What were the two kingdoms? One starts with an I.
Babylon was one.
Israel.
And the other one starts with a J.
Judah.
Those were kingdoms.
Okay.
The kingdoms were in what geographical area? Palestine. We've given the name Israel to the geographical area. The geographical area is Palestine, and you had two kingdoms.
Oh.
So when in 1947, when the United States and all the other countries decided to establish what? The state of
Israel.
in
Israel.
Palestine.
Palestine. Mhm.
So you can see why the Palestinians get upset.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. That area is Palestine, and you had two kingdoms. The kingdoms were Israel and Judah, but they were geographically set in Palestine. That's why people are called Palestinians.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
We knew that.
I know you know that. It's again getting out of your head what you've been taught.
Mhm.
And actually saying, wait a minute, what is the geographical area we're talking about?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was going on was that there was religious oppression by Antiochus, who took the throne in about 175 BCE. And there were divisions among the people. Why are there always divisions among the people?
Everybody wants things done their way.
Everybody wants things done their way.
Other
And to
way.
be in charge.
Got to be in charge.
Mhm.
And even, when we talk about Christianity, we want to go in, we cannot accept other people's religion.
Right.
What do?
Start our own.
Start
We
out.
go in and try to convert folks.
Right. Mhm.
We're taught to, we can baptize and spread the gospel, but guess what? Your religion is your religion.
Right.
But in our minds, we think that we have to convert everybody.
Mhm.
And
So
so you had the Jews who didn't want to become Greek. They said, we're Jews, we're Palestinians. Why do we need to become Greek?
good question.
We don't want to become, yeah, you're here, you're taking over, but we're still going to be who we are, because what happens when you forget who you are?
You become like somebody else. Maybe you don't want to be like them, but you are.
You become like somebody else, and actually your people die.
Mhm.
Who you are dies. Okay. And so here you have this, to get people to come over, stop worshiping like that. We're going to destroy the temple. We're going to sell all the stuff out of the temple. Okay. And so what we do know is that from the historian Tacitus, who was actually a real person, that Antiochus was also desirous of converting the Jews from what he saw as their barbarism. Why is it every time folks go in, the folks who are there are barbarians? Barbarians, savages,
Mhm.
apostates, as opposed, no, they're people, they're just different, right? But we have to put that title, there's something wrong with them. And so Antiochus, in his mind, he wanted to convert them to a more enlightened and liberal views. Okay, we want you to stop circumcising. We want you to stop observing the 613 laws. We want you to stop all of this because we want you to be like us. Because us is better than y'all. And we see that everywhere. We see that now. Okay. And so this is a history lesson that shows us what happens, and and then you have a group of people who rise up and said, ain't gonna be that way. Right? And so when the persecution of the Jews began in 168 or 167 before the Common Era, many of the Jews fled Jerusalem. They went to the countryside. We got to get out of here. And then there was armed resistance that was kind of fomented by the Hasmonean family, and the father's name was Mattathias. So he and his 5 sons took up arms and said, nope, you may be here, but You ain't going to take over us. And they use guerrilla tactics to fight.
Hmm.
And so eventually they regain control. And that's when you start getting into Maccabees, the second chapter, a second book of Maccabees. But that's kind of like an overview. It's like people will say, you may be here, but we're going to be who you are. And if we got to fight you to stay who we are, we're just going to fight you, as opposed to acquiescing and assimilating.
Mhm. Quick question. Is Maccabees referring to that one son or that whole family?
It's referring to the whole family, but
Okay.
Judas Maccabee, because Maccabee means the hammer.
Right. Okay.
That word
Gotcha.
means the hammer,
Okay. Gotcha.
we got the hammer. We got the hammer.
Okay.
We're gonna hammer you down. Um,
Okay.
but when the translators, when the interpreters put it together, they said, okay, let's just kind of use that term for the entire family and also for the revolt.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
All
why
right.
would they pick hammer? I mean, what does
Because
that refer to?
Because sometimes you got to lay the hammer down to get people out your business.
exactly.
Really, the real hammer.
The hammer.
And just use it because when he first started off, he got so angry. Is that the one? Wasn't he the one that got angry? The father got angry, so angry when he started beating up the man or whatever, and went on the altar. I'm like, oh my goodness,
I know
this is
it
too
was
much.
rough. Like you go like, okay. what's going on here?
Exactly.
And so it starts off with a few verses about Alexander the Great. And you go like, okay, where did Alexander the Great come in? Because we learn about him in school. But as you look at these 8 verses about Alexander the Great, what stood out to you? Because this is the only time you kind of like deal with him, and then it goes into the Maccabees. But what stood out? What questions came up in your mind in these 8 short verses about Alexander the Great? Okay.
You wonder who was really in charge.
Who's in charge? Well, he's in charge in an earthly realm. But what else? What did Alexander the Great do? Because in our history books, he's this great conqueror, right? Right? Well, what did he do? What did he do? If you look at verse 2, it said he slaughtered the kings of the earth. He plundered many nations, right?
Right.
And then in verse 6, he divided his kingdom among those while he was still alive. But a question you should ask is, where was God? See, we're afraid to ask that. Like, God, did you know this was going on?
Right.
If you're all knowing, all powerful, and that should undergird, and people are afraid to have those conversations. If you're so great, so all knowing, then why do you let this happen?
One of the things that I wrote down was, is God usually waiting for us to just make better decisions and gonna let us ruin ourselves because we don't make good decisions? I don't know.
We can only guess and hypothesize because we don't know the mind of God.
Right.
But some theologians say if God steps in, it prohibits us from being human. Okay, that we've been given the power to know what is right and wrong. And if God took that away from us, then we would not be human. In fact, Rabbi Kushner in Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? And he wrote that book as he watched his young son die of a terrible cancer. And he said he had to rethink everything he had ever learned about God and religion. Like really, God, this boy is 7 years old. Like, what did he do to you? what did he do to you? And it wasn't that he was saying, because a lot of people, when something happens to somebody, it turns to them like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen to me? He said, no, what did this 7-year-old child do to you that you let him die this horrible death? And so he said he had to question everything. And he says his answer, because we don't know. And we have tried, we even have a whole area of theology called theodicy, where we try to figure out, but we don't know, why God lets horrible things. But for him, he had to help him deal with his son's death. He had to come to the conclusion that God has given us the power to do what's right or wrong. And he says, even that doesn't make sense when he's talking about disease. Like, God, why would you let these diseases, do this? But that with everything that God has given us, the knowledge God has given us, when we do bad things, when we don't, we don't spend enough money to develop vaccines and do the research to stop diseases, that God looks on with amused disbelief that we have not learned how to live together as one. And he said that's the only thing that got him through. And when you talk to atheists, a lot of them, that is their whole thing. Like, if your God's so great, why is the world so screwed up?
Mm-hmm.
We don't need God for this kind of world. We don't need God for violence. We don't need God for wars. We don't need God for. So where is your God? Okay. And then those of us in the faith community will try to say, oh, well, this will make us stronger. This is God testing our faith. We do all of these kinds of things that other folks say, that don't make no sense. That don't make any sense.
You are so right.
To anesthetize yourself
Mm-hmm.
to the fact that you have a God that lets you kill each other, rape
Mm-hmm.
each other, bomb
Mm-hmm.
each other, and then you try to justify that.
Yeah. I met an atheist this summer, and I said, Chandra, do you want to go down that path? So, and as we were sharing stories, she was part of the folks that were there together. And I said, we still said grace together before meals, what have you. But she told this story, and I said, I get how you feel. I said, but that story you just told me, let me tell you, that was a God moment. So you can take it for whatever you want, but that was a God moment. So yeah, it's hard to talk to them. Yeah, but I did my best.
The thing about it is that they know more about the Bible than most Christians.
Yes, they do.
Because they have studied the Bible.
Right, to try to find out why they're an atheist.
No, they know why they're an atheist. They want to find out why you are a believer.
Why, yes, okay, right.
They know why they are an atheist. They want to know, why do you believe this stuff?
Or why you are not an atheist.
Why you are not.
That's true. Yeah.
So if you engage in atheists, you better come with your number one game. Because for everything you say,
they got an answer.
They got an answer.
They have an answer. They have an answer.
But when I told her that was a God moment, she was speechless. So we just left it at that, and we moved on. She also
speechless, or she respected your right to believe it.
Well, maybe so.
See,
and she's also not registered to vote. I said, Chandra, you're going to go down the God path. You're going to go down the politics path. So I couldn't do it all, but I tried. I really did. But, and she's a nice woman. And I'm like, I can't believe it. That's her belief.
It's her belief. And so you say that's a God moment, and folks will go like, okay, so explain that.
I'm surprised.
Why is that a God moment as opposed to that's just serendipity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They know why they are an atheist. A lot of Christians can't tell you why they are Christians.
That's so true.
In a way that makes sense. Okay. So here we are. We have these questions. We got Alexander the Great. And so then all of a sudden it just stops. Alexander goes bye-bye. And now we are with Antiochus. And so if you look at, the Jews have always been conquered by somebody. And you have to ask, God, if these are your chosen people, why do you keep allowing them to be conquered? What's your answer? These are your chosen people. They were minding their own business. You chose them. And they're constantly being conquered, constantly being sent into exile. What is your answer for that?
All I can think
you
of
talk to God.
is
Don't
what's
listen.
happening in Israel and Gaza today. I have wanted to be pro-Israel, and I have always thought I was pro-Israel until now. And I've begun to learn more about the history of present-day Israel. And it's not pretty.
No, it's not at all.
No. Jennifer, you were trying to say something.
I was saying that they just don't listen.
They don't listen.
They don't listen. They always want to do whatever they want to do. And every time they don't listen, God do something to them to bring them back to him.
So why were they chosen?
He has chosen them to be his people, for them to listen to him. He told Moses, tell them to listen, because I am the Almighty God.
Okay, so
And
you
if
have
you
the
listen,
Assyrians, you've got the Hittites, and you got the Amorites, and you got a whole bunch of folks over there. Why them?
Because why them? I think he just, when he looked them and he saw the plight that they were in when they were taken to Egypt, he felt sorry for them, and he said, look, Moses, go take these people out to Egypt and, talk to them and tell them, I have chosen them to be my people. And
Why?
if they listen to me,
To show other people how they should be acting.
How they should live.
He could have chosen anybody.
Yeah, that is so
but
true.
He chose them to show the world how it is to be in relationship with God.
Relationship with God.
Yes.
And they keep doing what?
What they want to do.
That's
What they want to do.
What
And so
to do.
God will use their enemies to punish them.
Right.
True.
Right.
Okay. So here you have Antiochus, right? This is about 175 BCE. And he's in Egypt. Verse 16, right? He's in Egypt. I mean, he's a kingdom. I mean, he's a king. And so 16 says, when Antiochus saw that his kingdom was established, he determined to become king of the land of Egypt in order that he might reign over both kingdoms. Now, kings, dictators, all of them, they can't be satisfied with my little area.
True. They want everything.
Gotta have more. And we can call them kings, we can call them dictators, we can call them founding fathers. Started off with 13 colonies. Then all of a sudden, what do? We started expanding westward. We're not satisfied, because we want more stuff.
Yes.
And more power.
And in order to get more stuff, what do?
Kill people off.
You gotta kill the people who are already there.
Destroy.
I just take it from them.
Take it from them because I am king. I want more stuff, so you got to go. And so after you get the stuff, let's look at this country and moving.
So you're going to invade the next country.
Right. I mean, hey, we can talk. We don't have to go back there. We can do it. What did we do to the Native Americans?
Right.
Kill them.
Just took all their
Killed
stuff,
them.
all
You
their land.
moved them. You know, Cherokees were in North Carolina. Now they're in Oklahoma.
Right.
How'd they get there? They didn't catch a train.
Driven away.
No, they
Driven away.
Trail of Tears.
Trail of Tears.
Yep.
Right. And now in the last years coming out about all the residential schools.
Oh yeah. So
the
sad.
Episcopal Church ran schools as a contractor for the federal government. What was the mantra of these schools?
Teach them a different way.
Kill the Indian, save the man. First thing they did was cut off their hair.
Yep.
Why?
To look more like white people.
To look more like white people. And why is hair important to Native Americans?
Their strength.
Their strength, that's part of who they
are.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of who they are. You know, we have the former vice president of the House of Deputies, Rachel Tabor Hamilton, is First Nation, right? And she talks about how she's gone on interviews. She wears a braid. And she's been in interviews for Bishop. And they were asked, is that how you're gonna wear your hair like that? Like, what are you talking about? Wear my hair like that?
Right.
One person indicated, well, that's a wild hairstyle. It's in a braid. Okay.
Wild to you, not to me.
Right, you know. So when you take over, and beginning at verse 20, there's persecution of the Jews. You come into somebody else's area, you persecute them. You're going to force them. Look at the history of Africa. What do? Archbishop Desmond Tutu said, you know, when the Europeans came, we had the land and they had the Bible. We closed our eyes, they had the land and we had the Bible.
Wow. Yeah.
Interesting.
They took it over.
They said, let us pray. They bowed their heads, and when they came up, the land was gone and they're standing there with a Bible.
Right.
And so you have where you are going to be like us, and you're going to worship like us. You're going to, believe like us. You have people who try to leave. You have the occupation of Jerusalem beginning in verse 29, because we're going to change everything. We're going to change everything. And unless people rise up, they will lose them
everything.
Okay. Because like in verse 41, you have the installation of Gentile cults. You're going to believe like us. You're going to worship like us. We look at Africans in the south of this country when they're brought over. Leave your heathen ways. It's not heathen. It's just different.
It's just their ways.
It's just different.
You know, when was it? About a month ago, I forget what country it was in. They found one of the largest diamonds. And I said, oh my goodness, I hope it's not going to be taken away from them. Did you all hear that story? I mean, it's a huge
Who owns
diamond.
the mine? Who owns the mine?
There you go.
Europeans own the mine.
Yep.
Yep. That's what I
So how do
figured.
you come there and you own the mines when you're from Europe?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you install your way of worshiping who you're going to worship. We can see it in this country. Go back to Jeremiah Wright, and he said, you know, you what you really have is a white church in blackface. There's no indication of African traditional religion in our Black churches because we've been taught that it's heathen, that it's savage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You don't sing your Black songs. You need to sing your German anthems in church. And so this is what happens. We're going to change you into our version of what you should be so that you begin to hate yourself.
Mm.
You hate everything about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You give up who you are. Now, some people give up who they are in order to survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going, this is not a good situation. What do I need to do to survive? But others begin to think that this is better.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right? Your God is better. Your gods are better. Our God, you're over here now. So, but then just like in Daniel, you have folks who go like, nope, ain't going to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to happen here. And so you have people who rebel against people encroaching, setting up, as Antiochus did, their own altars within the temples, their own gods within the temples. And they do it under the penalty of death.
Right. Mm-hmm.
When we look at the story of Christianity, Western Christianity, when you look at the Inquisition and when you look at the Crusades, you converted under the penalty of death.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you look at Columbus coming to the Americas, and we have information from one of the religious people who came, who said they just slaughtered people, cut babies in half, all under the banner of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
You will either be like us or we will kill you in the name of Jesus.
Yeah, there was one part in here when they talked about it in this particular section. You know, when they were killing the mothers and everything, and the children who were circumcised and all that, and the women who had the women who had the children circumcised. And then they said, and their families and those who circumcised them, and they hung the infants from their mothers' necks. That's just such a awful visual, you know. It's awful.
They did evil in the land.
And perhaps this is why for Protestants, we don't want to read this, because we think, you know, that Christianity and everything in the Bible is, oh, happy, clappy, happy, clappy, happy, clappy. As
It's
opposed
not.
to, it is not. It is not.
It's not.
Then after what you were saying, Chandra, in verse 62, it says, but many in Israel stood firm and were resolved in their hearts not to eat unclean food. We're not going to do what you tell us to do. They chose to die rather than to be defiled by food or profane the holy covenant, and they did die.
Right.
Very great wrath came upon Israel. And we'll go, oh, well, that was just eating food. And that was, no, it was about, this is what we believe. And it's not about the food.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Their
It's
belief,
not about the food.
Mm-hmm.
It is
their
about
custom.
our way of life and how we showed our connection with God.
Exactly.
And
It was their customs.
it's their
Mhm.
customs.
Mhm.
We might not want 613 laws, but if 613 laws help you, have at it.
Mhm.
You know,
Exactly.
have at it. Why are we trying to change you into something you are not?
Right.
But that happens even today. Again,
Yes.
we think as Christians, we need to go in and convert you, as opposed to how do we just follow Jesus and figure out how to have a better world without trying to change people?
Right.
There's a story of Reverend, oh my God, what is her name? Anyway, she was an Episcopal priest. She served as the cantor. Oh, Ann Holmes Redding. She served as at the cantor at the irregular ordination of the Philadelphia 11, a Black female. Um, and what happened was that, I mean, she was ordained. Her mother died, and sometimes when your mother dies, your whole world just like
Oh, yes.
Falls
Right.
apart.
it
Mhm.
just. And so
Mhm.
she had been attending interreligious classes where people brought different aspects of their religions.
Mhm.
And she said that Islam spoke to her, the tenets of Islam spoke to her.
Mhm.
She said she didn't give up being a Christian. She didn't give up being a priest. She didn't give up being, believing in the Trinity. She didn't give up believing that Jesus was the Son of God. She said there were aspects of Islam that spoke to her in her need.
Mhm.
No different than Cole Arthur Riley, when she wrote this book, she said, the Book of Common Prayer ain't happening for me.
Mhm.
Just ain't getting it. So I'm
Mhm.
going to write something that helps me. And so she said that she was both Muslim and Christian.
Oh,
Now, to
okay.
become Muslim, all you have to do is go like, I submit.
Mhm.
That's it. I submit. And in
Mhm.
class, we're going like, okay, we got to be careful with that, because what does that mean? And so the bishop where she was working said that he thought it was okay. Well, this is something new. This is something interesting that you can have this interreligious faith. But the bishop where she was canonically resident says you got to give it up, or else you'll
Mhm.
be rocked. So after 25 years of being an Episcopal priest, they defrocked her.
Oh, wow. What's her name again, Gail?
Ann Holmes Redding, they defrocked her. 2000, I think it was 2009, they defrocked her after 25 years. But she still teaches, and she holds interreligious workshops. She's got people from different religions talking to each other, sharing what works. But we say, okay, to be a Christian, you must do A, B, and C, and you cannot go to D. As opposed to, what do you need to feel whole?
Right.
What do you need to feel whole? What do you need to get you through this rough spot
Mhm.
in your life? And then you have some folks saying, well, you don't have any religion at all. You're just making up stuff. As
Mhm.
opposed to, all of this is about God.
Right.
All of this is about God.
Mhm.
Okay. And so we
Gail, did they even ask her to share what about the specifics about what in Islam spoke to her before.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
they talked to her and they gave her time to think about it. But after she says, no, I can be both. And they
Right.
said, no, you can't.
Mhm.
You know, she said, she prayed the Book of Common Prayer was that 4 times, and she prayed the Allah 5 times. She's praying that 9 times a day. You know?
And it didn't help.
But they said, nope, can't do that. You either renounce being a Muslim or you lose your ordination.
Wow.
Mhm.
But one thing is that you have to remember that when God calls you, only God can take it away.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Human
Exactly.
beings can, take your name out the book. But when God calls you and God calls you in a specific way, that's between you and God.
Yes, it is.
Right. Well, Gail, whatever happened to the gentleman that you were telling us about one time that didn't want to do communion?
He was defrocked.
Oh, man.
He was defrocked.
Mm.
And so, and again, with him, he said that since the church reneged on all it said about, getting rid of anti-Black racism and white supremacy, he said that he would not receive communion and he would not give communion in his church.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But he paid out of his own pocket for other priests to come in and commune his people. And they said, oh, you can't do that. That's against your ordination vows, because the main thing in the church is the Eucharist.
Mm.
And so I have to ask you, is the main thing for you in the Episcopal Church the Eucharist?
No.
Oh, you heathen, Ruth.
Well,
It's supposed to be, I
as you
guess.
know, Gail, I'm in the diocese of the guy that you're talking about.
Yep.
And
What's
I would like to
his
tell
name?
you what we
Virginia.
all heard about it in my church.
Yeah.
You hear the silence?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we heard.
Mm.
Nobody
What's his-
speaks about it. I think nobody's heard of it except me. And I did ask the rector of my church, and she had heard of it. But she didn't really want to talk about it, she and I are pretty good friends, but this was not a topic.
Mm.
She didn't know much about it or something.
What's
But
his name?
His first name is Case. I can't remember his last name.
Because I know he's going to write a book.
Well,
I just want to know.
the thing he did, once he knew that the decision was coming down,
Mm-hmm.
he went to Jerusalem.
Oh,
He spent time in Jerusalem.
God bless him.
He spent time in Jerusalem.
But he came back though, didn't he?
Oh yeah, because he lives here. He lives here.
Mhm.
But if God puts that call in your life, only God can take that call, regardless of what human beings do. And so for us in the Episcopal Church, the Eucharist is the focal point, right?
yeah.
Right? That's what we've been told. But those of us
Yeah.
who grown up in the Episcopal Church know a time when that was not the focal point.
No, because you couldn't take it until after you were confirmed.
Well, not only that, but you had to know which service and what day to go to get the Eucharist. If you attended 9 o'clock service at St. Luke's, you got communion like once a month.
Oh, wow.
Until the 19th, the current Book of Common Prayer, where it was every Sunday, right? But
Right.
you can go forever, because even in the canons it says to be a recognized Episcopalian, all you have to do is take communion 3 times a year.
Mm.
Right?
I grew up in the Presbyterian church, and we had, what we called communion about every 3 months, whether we needed it or not. I mean, we had the grape juice and the little, whatever we had for the bread. It varied, but the grape juice never varied. It was just in a little cup by itself, and they passed this tray of little cups around, and then it meant nothing to me. And it's part of why I became an Episcopalian, because the Eucharist in the Episcopal Church was one of the reasons why I became an Episcopalian, because it seemed real, whereas in the Presbyterian Church it didn't seem like anything. And when you want to talk about what's the most important thing, I think I would have started there some years ago. But right now I'm at a point where the most important thing is, what did Jesus say and what should I do about it? That's it. If I'm doing that, that's all I can handle.
And to know that, some places it's called communion, Last Supper, the Eucharist, which means Thanksgiving. Other folks say, no, it's not Thanksgiving, it's communion. So it depends on your denomination what it actually means. And so we've been taught that it is the central thing, and other folks go, okay, it's nice. And again, remember when you go into a Catholic church or Episcopal church, Presbyterian church, Methodist church, where is the pulpit? It's to the right or to the left, right?
Yeah.
What's in the center?
The altar.
The table, because that's the focus. You go into a Baptist church, what's in the center?
The preacher.
A pulpit, because the word is the center.
Yes, the word is the center. That's right. Yeah.
Right? The word is the center. So you can tell what's important when you're going to the church by where the pulpit is. To the side, in the middle, okay.
No, just leave it on.
Okay. So it and all of this has to do with your particular branch of Christendom. Who's to say what's right? Who's right? Or is it more, as Ruth said, how you live your life in relationship to Jesus, God, and everyone else? Okay. Yeah.
Gail, that's just
male persons at the door.
I know I'm talking a lot, but I just,
this is the place to talk.
The thing that came to me when I many years ago, I went to Japan and I taught English, and I was working at one of my classes. These were all people who already knew English. They wanted to speak the right English. They were young executives, and so I was at this class that I shared with another teacher, and like every other class, he went. And so one day they ambushed me and they said, "You say schedule, but Mr. Holt says schedule. Who is right?" And I said, "Mr. Holt is right in South Africa," which is where he was from, "and I am right in the United States. But who is right?" They wouldn't let it go, and I wouldn't change my answer. So that's how I'm feeling about this. Who is right? The Presbyterian Church. Who is right? I am right in the Presbyterian Church. You are right in the Episcopal Church, or whatever. There's so many things that there just isn't really a right or wrong.
And we're all wrong in the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Every single one of us is wrong in the Roman Catholic Church.
But the Roman Catholic Church is wrong to us.
Yeah. There you
go.
So
there you go. I mean, it's just there are things that we choose to fight about instead of just saying, okay, that's all right. You do it your way, I'll do it mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'd rather fight.
We would rather fight who's right, who's wrong. as opposed to, what would Jesus do in all this? And Jesus go, look, I was not a Christian, y'all. But I don't know
I
what y'all
love that.
doing anyway. You know, all this stuff that you all do, I'm going like, no. All I said was follow me. Can you just get in line and follow me, people? Can you
But you
just
know,
can you do that? And you're gonna like, no, because you go to the cross and we don't like the cross. We don't.
Point.
that was an interesting time. The young people always would say, what would Jesus do when the situation came up? And it
Mhm.
seemed to have worked for all of them for a long while until other people said, well, that's just how you interpret it, but that's not how it really is. But that, and they went out, remember, they bought the jewelry. What would Jesus do?
Right.
And,
Right.
and they were really into that. I wonder what happened and made them all of a sudden change their minds about all of that.
The younger people got older.
Did they start acting like us, huh?
The younger people got older.
Mhm.
Okay. But again, it goes back to this whole issue of that we've talked about. Why do you need to believe what you believe? I mean, you have made a decision to be Episcopalian, which means that it is assumed that you ascribe to everything that the Episcopal Church ascribes to. But if you left and went to the Methodist Church, what would you do there? If you decided to leave and go to the Baptist church, what would you do there? If you decided to leave and go to the Roman Catholic church, if you decide, you got, for some reason you hooked up with someone of the Jewish faith and you decide, okay, now I'm going to convert to this. What happens to all that stuff in your head?
You let it all go except what you're thinking
You
right
know,
now.
where does, like, okay, yesterday I believe that, but today I don't. I believe this now, right?
Is
You
that
have made
okay
a
for you?
decision
Yeah, I know.
to believe certain things,
Mhm.
and that's your decision. Okay. So here we have Matthias and his sons, who in chapter 2, you have his 5 sons, and they have decided what?
Yeah.
What have they decided to do? Here's a small group
They're
of
not
people.
going to obey them.
They're not going to obey. They're not.
Right.
Okay.
They're not.
They're not
Right.
going to obey.
So it's almost like you got to wait for somebody to step up and go like, okay, we ain't going to do this, and maybe other people will follow. But everybody's like, who's going to do that?
Mhm.
We're going to wait, right? And so
Mhm.
what happens if you look, at verse 6, it says he saw the blasphemies being committed in Judah and Jerusalem. Okay, he's seeing this, but other people are also seeing what's going on, and it goes
Mhm.
back to what Chandra was saying in verse 9. Her infants are being killed in the streets. That's what we do. We will kill people because you're not following what we want you to
You
do.
to do.
And so they decided what? They're going to refuse the pagan worship.
Mhm.
Okay. And if beginning at verse 15 and coming down to 20, particularly 20 says, I and my sons and my brothers will continue to live by the covenant of our ancestors.
Right. Mhm.
You got to know who you are.
Mhm.
If you're
Yes.
going to live by the covenant, you got to know what your ancestors did. You got to know
Mhm.
what they believed. You have to
Mhm.
know what they went through. No different. I mean, you could almost paraphrase this. Daniel said, no, we got ancestors, we got folks that have done this. No,
Mhm.
we're not doing this. Okay. And so chapter 2 just kind of shows how they are going to refuse this pagan worship, and they're going to refuse the king's commands.
Monument.
Right? But then they're going to be pursued, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part that I was talking about earlier. Verse 23. He got so mad when a Jew came forward that he just, whoo, he went and killed him on the altar, and then the king's officer, he killed him too.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
he was,
That was
he was
amazing.
not,
Yeah.
he was not playing.
He was not playing. That he was not playing.
He was not playing.
Like, no, you are not going to do this.
That's right.
He meant it.
You are not going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're rejecting the king, no different than Daniel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you come down to verse 37, say, let us all die in our innocence. Heaven and earth testify for us that you are killing us unjustly. Like, if you're going to kill us, kill us.
Right.
You know, it's no different than I can see him like Nat Turner,
Oh, right.
Beasley, all of them. Like, we're not going to tolerate this. If we're going to die, we're going to die.
Exactly.
We're not going to treat us like this.
Mm-hmm.
We would rather die. In fact, what is that hymn? I'd rather
I'd
my
be
grave than
Before I'll be a slave,
before I be
buried
a
in
slave.
my grave.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to do this. I'd rather be dead.
Free. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Your
And
choice.
so, and then that group of people, it seems like when I was reading it, that they weren't fighting back, or maybe they weren't the fighters, but they weren't doing so because of the Sabbath. And so that's why I was thinking, as it Mattathias said, even if it is the Sabbath, we are going to kill.
We're going to fight.
Yeah, we're going to fight.
We are going to fight. Okay.
Yeah.
And we can take that up to Jesus's time. What did he say about the Sabbath? Like, if you got a donkey in the ditch on the Sabbath, you're gonna leave him there.
Yeah.
Right.
You got
Or you
people
can go
who are
pick it up.
ill. You're gonna leave them ill because it's the Sabbath,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sabbath
And
was
so,
made for the people.
huh?
Sabbath was made for the people, not the
Sabbath
people for
made-
the Sabbath.
Right. And so they propose a counterattack.
Yep. They sure did.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They propose a counterattack.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they get back. There's going to be more as we get further in.
Mm-hmm.
But in verse 45, it says Mattathias and his friends went around and tore down the altars. And they had a problem with this part. They forcibly circumcised all their okay.
Yeah, that's kind of right. That's
that was kind of rough.
Yeah.
Really rough.
Like, if you're gonna be a Jew, you're gonna be a Jew.
That's right.
Everybody gets circumcised.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we can get a little overzealous,
right,
in what we're doing
for good reason.
And so then, as it ends in, you have the last words of Mattathias, because then it's going to transition to his sons. So Mattathias dies, and he talks to his children, and look at beginning at verse 51.
I love that when he was just naming the ancestors,
Naming the ancestors.
naming the ancestors and what
all
they did
through the Hebrew Bible. They sit down and they recall the history.
Yes, they do.
But to recall the history, you must what?
Know the history.
You got to know the history to recall it. You can't go get a book.
Right.
Okay. And so it says, remember the deeds of the ancestors, which they did in their generations, and you will receive great honor and everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful when tested, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness? Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment and became Lord of Egypt. Phineas was in 1 Kings, okay? Phineas, our ancestor, because he was deeply zealous, received the covenant of everlasting priesthood. Joshua, who took him into, took them into the new land, or the promised land, because
That's
he
right.
got left behind. Joshua, because he fulfilled the command and became a judge in Israel. Caleb, another brother, because he testified in the assembly, received an inheritance of the land. King David, because he was merciful, inherited the throne of the kingdom forever. Elijah, right? Prophet,
Mhm.
because of the great zeal of the Lord, was taken up into heaven. Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael, who are they?
Was that?
Hananiah,
The three.
Azariah, Mishael, come on.
The three
I was Meshach.
Nima
and Abednego.
They're the
Yes.
three
and
Hebrew
Abednego.
boys. We call them Meshach,
Yes. Couldn't get
Shadrach,
it out.
and
Shadrach,
Abednego.
Meshach,
Abednego.
and
Yeah.
Abednego. Right. Okay. Right. Okay.
But those, remember, Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael were their Hebrew names.
Right.
In Babylon, they were given
Yes, they gave him another name.
those names, right? But they had to know what their Hebrew names were. Okay. They believed and were saved from the flame. Daniel, because of his innocence, was delivered from the mouth of the lions, and so observed from generation to generation that none of those who put their trust in him will lack strength. Do not fear the words of sinners, for their splendor turn into dung and worms. Today they will be exalted, but tomorrow they will not be found. They will have returned to the dust, and their plans will have perished. My children, be courageous and grow strong in the law, for by it you will gain honor. When I read that, I said, Project 2025.
Yes.
Yes.
True.
Yes. Mhm. That's
Right.
happening
Yeah.
right today.
We can fight against that.
Exactly.
You have to know, you have to gain strength from your ancestors who have fought in the past. How do you turn this around?
Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
know, when you first started off, I think it was in the last words, when he said in the beginning, arrogance and scorn have now become strong. It is a time of ruin and furious anger. I just thought about what's going on today in this politics and with that man. I mean, it's right there.
It's
Right
right
there.
there.
Right there.
It is right there.
It is right there.
And you have people who will follow that
Right.
because they think it's something in it for them. We have lost the
True.
sense of community.
Right.
Okay.
And then when it brought
Selfish. Everybody just to themselves.
Right. I am in it to win it. The heck with
Right.
you.
And then, you know, when they talked about cults, I said, you know what? I'm just waiting for them. When is he going to give out Kool-Aid? I just went there.
Yep. So Loretta, I know you got to get back.
Let's see how many of them will drink.
Have fun. Have fun.
See y'all.
Oh, Loretta.
Bye.
Yes. Have
Okay.
fun.
I will.
Okay. God bless you.
Good.
Bye.
But do not, when you look at 62, do not fear the words of sinners. Do not fear the words of sinners. Now, you know, folks are going, oh, you know, we're all sinners and have fallen short of the glory of God. But we're talking about folks, you know, like you just wrong. You are just wrong.
Right.
And that if we
Project 25.
Right. If we
Don't
do what
say
we're
E to that.
their splendor will turn into dung and worms.
Right.
Right. And so we can see, as we just read these two chapters, we can see, you know, American history, world history, biblical history, what's going on then, what's going on now. And remember, this is a historical account.
Right.
We have evidence that these events happened.
Yeah.
Amen.
And so then as it ends, it says, then Mattathias, okay, I've done everything I can do. I'm tired. I'm leaving. Good night, all. You all take up the mantle and keep up the fight.
It's yours now.
It's yours. It is yours. But again, what is the legacy we pass on?
Mm-hmm.
History.
And
Just
you got
like
to
the
know what the history is.
Mhm.
Exactly.
We see the whole thing about not teaching a more fuller history of
Right.
the country. That's just to further deny that we are human beings. That is to cut off information for our children.
Right.
So we have to push, and if we can't get it in the schools, then it should be taught in the church
Exactly. And at home.
True.
and at home. And at
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't see yourself as great, if you don't hear yourself as being great, if you don't hear
Mm-hmm.
your people as being strong, you
Mm-hmm.
will think you are nothing. And we
Exactly.
see a lot of violence in the streets because you have too many
Mm-hmm.
young Black kids who feel that their lives don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And if their lives don't
It is
matter, guess
so
what?
true.
Yours don't matter.
And it's your fault because you're not teaching them that they matter.
We're not teaching them that they matter. We're not. And the
Yeah.
public school teachers are doing the best they can. In some states, they are doing under threat of being fired,
Yes. I don't even know how
Mhm.
they're doing it. Bless their hearts.
you
Right.
know?
Mm-hmm.
But there is nothing wrong with everybody learning about everybody else.
Exactly.
It's true.
There is nothing wrong with being in this country and celebrating, bringing who you are, as opposed to trying to become something you're not.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mhm.
And so the information is in the Bible. All we got to do is read it, and as Jeremiah Wright says, come through your own context. Bring
Mm-hmm.
your context to the interpretation of Scripture.
Yeah.
Bring your context. Go ahead, Jennifer.
No, I said just yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So any final questions, what we would do, because we are going through the sons taking over, especially Judas the Hammer.
Mm-hmm. And he also said, listen to your brother Simeon. And he
Yes.
said, he shall be your father. He's
Mhm.
wise in counsel. Always listen to him. So I
Always.
mean, he's like passing it on. He said,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
this is it. Yeah.
This is it. Pass it on.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will go through chapter 8 next week, because it's it's like a Netflix movie, a Netflix drama.
Okay, so
Okay.
3 to 8.
3 to 8.
3 to 8.
Okay. Are you
3 to
writing this
8. Good.
down, Reverend Gail?
Yes, I did. I actually wrote it down before I even started. I said, I got to do that. I got to do that.
Make sure Loretta gets that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everybody, I guess, when you
Yeah,
send
I will
out the
send it out.
email.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
3 to
So,
8.
So
any
interesting.
questions, any comments on, like, why isn't this something that we actually hear in our church? Well, there's so much we don't hear in our church.
Mhm.
Oh, I know.
True.
We don't get in the Apocrypha at all, hardly. Well,
No,
not at all.
no.
Reverend Gail, did you say next week chapters 3 through 8?
3 through 8, yeah.
Thank you.
3
Mhm.
to 8.
I only remember what I write down.
I know.
That's okay.
It's really a lot of killing and a lot of viciousness in here.
Well, I mean, that's part of the sinfulness of people, that you can't talk things out. I just got to get rid of you.
Yeah.
hmm
We
And
have
that's what they're trying to do right now.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
And
the 6
so,
people they found killed in the tunnels. That was just so awful.
Yeah, and the
Oh,
thing about it, and the question I ask, how does a people who were almost wiped out do what was done to them?
I know.
How do you do that?
Oh,
How do you do that? And I recognize that Hamas, but that's like blaming all white people for the Ku Klux Klan in this country,
right.
Of
That's true.
course.
Yeah. It's the same
right?
concept.
So to get to them, I'm just gonna wipe out white people.
Right.
It's
So
true.
somewhere among you, there's got to be one person walking around in a sheet. So I'm gonna just take all of y'all out to get that one person in the
True.
sheet.
that's
Yeah.
really
As
bad.
opposed to you tell me that 44,000, was it 44,000 children are Hamas? And yesterday when they bombed and they showed the picture, it's a little girl. She was skating and she still had
Yeah,
on skates.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And they
That
found her
was
body,
pitiful. That was awful.
and really like what were her skates poison? Were her skates bombing you? It makes no sense.
none.
No,
And this church will not call it what it is, which is genocide.
Yep.
mhm.
It's genocide.
That's what it
Mhm.
is. That's what it was.
Genocide.
And there'll be more
But
of
you
it.
know what I heard in the news yesterday is that the Secretary of Defense had asked Netanyahu, why didn't you start from some farther down than where they found where the hostages were?
Mhm.
The secretary had asked Netanyahu, why didn't you start from there if you know that where they would have been, that before you bombed down all those places? You found the people where you knew they would have been. Why bomb the place, the other area, before they get there? I heard the Secretary of Defense had asked Netanyahu that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because this is about
And
taking out
they
the
tell him he could have
Palestinians.
done more. He could
And
have
you
done
see
lots
He could
that,
have gone. He could have
yeah,
gone there first instead of bombing all the people. Then why you bomb the people? Because you want to get rid of them. That was the only way I saw it.
and that is true. And then
Yeah.
in all of this, you see that there are Jewish settlements being set up in still in Palestinian territory
Mhm.
In the West Bank.
on the West Bank. So they're
Yeah.
still taking over. And
more.
so
Mhm.
until
Yeah,
this country
They
says,
still want to take over.
we're not sending you any more money,
yeah,
sending you no more bombs, we ain't sending you, we're not.
right.
You're not.
That's
But the reason that we are afraid because Netanyahu will turn to North Korea and Russia.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you know they'll give it to him.
And they would willingly accept
Right.
him.
So all we're doing is bribing him not to go to them.
for them.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well,
But he's not doing anything. He's not doing anything. He just wants to, because he's scared too. Because if this war is finished, you know the people gonna throw him out from being the leader,
They're trying to throw him out now.
and then he gonna got to face all his crimes, and
Yeah.
that's what he doesn't want.
Right. Right.
Yep, we got one of those too.
Yeah, we do. We do.
That is true.
and
Anyway, he gonna face it regardless.
Mhm.
If it takes 10 years, he's still gonna face his crimes.
Yep. I
So,
want to say some real soon.
what we have to do is when we get the right person in, is to hold that person accountable.
Accountable. Exactly.
It's
We do.
true.
We have to be like France. Something happened. All our France is in the streets. You know,
Yeah.
Yep.
they out in the street.
That is so true.
They just in the
Mhm.
street.
Yep.
So anything else before the benediction? You had something Claudia, or did you have something? Or Eleanor? Nope.
No, I
Okay.
didn't.
Okay. So, whew, keep on keeping on. Talk to folks. We've got this. If we do what we're supposed to do, we can actually change this country into what it needs to be.
Amen.
Definitely.
We have the power to do that, but we've got to hold people's feet to the fire, and we can do that. We can do that.
And they gotta get out and
True.
vote.
We gotta
Make
do
sure
that.
everybody you know will vote.
We can't say nothing is in it for me and all of that nonsense.
Make sure your government ID is up to date, just in case folks get stupid. The other side has 150,000 already poll watchers.
Yes.
It's true.
Now,
They were
now,
given seminars how to behave.
Yeah.
Laura
Yeah.
Trump was conducting
Trump is doing
seminars
that.
the other
So,
day.
you just got to be ready. Just got to be ready.
Gotta be ready.
Gotta
Have to be ready.
And take a hammer, just in case. Take a hammer. If I had a hammer.
Yeah. There we go.
The Lord be with you.
And also with
And
you.
also with you.
Let us pray. So may you fall in love again and again with the beautiful, and may that enchantment keep you from the captivity of despair and usher you into dreaming. In your beholding, may you become a faithful protector of every person and piece of creation, including the earth that trembles beneath your feet. Go in peace to pay attention. May it be so. And the people of God, the people who know God, the people who love God said, Amen.
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 I like that.
Blessings,
Pay
each and every
attention.
one of you.
Yes.
Same to you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye,
Have a good
everybody.
day.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.